Good morning, Mr. Griffith. A.S. Robinson here. Mr. Griffith, taxpayers spent roughly 3.6 million TT dollars on 1,200 police body cameras under your tenure. The current commissioner now says hundreds are inoperable and some aren't even connected to a central system. How does a multi-million dollar accountability project end up being described as essentially unusable?
Very straightforward there, PS, because his comment is false, mischievous, and misleading. Because these were the same 1,200 body cameras that I utilized in my last few months as Commissioner of Police, because it took me a few years to get the funding, the research, the due diligence, ascertain the type of cameras to be used, the standard operational procedure, the departmental order. And with that, it was mandatory that every police officer, they will sign for it and use it and then return it. And that played a big part towards public confidence being 60% in the police service, because people were seeing police officers with body cameras. So for him to state that, it was being used, it was being utilized by the police service. And these were the same body cameras. I asked you to go onto GTAC, type GETAC, and Axon, AXON. These are the same type of body cameras used by most police departments in North America. So is it that they couldn't use it either?
So you're saying the cameras were fully functional and properly managed when you left office. So are you stating clearly that the country inherited a complete working body camera system and that any breakdown happened only after your tenure?
Yeah, definitely. Because when they were trying to push to say that they need 7,000 body cameras for 7,000 police officers, that seemed to me an element of either incompetence and or corruption. Because over half of the police officers are not on operational duty. Most of them are involved in human resource, welfare, administration, logistics, finance, IT, cybercrime, and those type of duties, human resource, gender-based violence, and so forth. So there's no need to issue body cameras for 7,000 police officers. You have no more than 3,000 operational duty. If there's a rotation, that means that you only need 1,000 odd body cameras. You don't have more than 1,000 police officers on actual operational duty being involved in roadblocks, operations, exercises, issuing a warrant, etc. Which is why I issued 1,200. It would have been about 8 body cameras in each of the 100 stations. The other 400 body cameras will be given to the task force in the divisions, the IATF, GEB, and so forth. So they were enough, and they would have been utilized in that manner. If it is that they say that there was a problem in the procurement or a person given the wrong signature or so forth, you're telling me, PS, that after 5 years, you can rectify a signature, you can do a new procurement process for 5 years. So what I was able to do in 3 months when I got the funding, 3 commissioners after me couldn't do in 5 years. I'll also add, and what we did, we had a specific team in the IT department making sure that we could ensure that the police officer tour of duty, whether it be 2 hours or 4 hours, it will equate with the recording time on the body camera, which would have taken away the foolish comment made by the commissioner who said that the cameras could be turned on and turned off. Almost every body camera by every police officer in North America can be turned on and turned off, and there's a reason for that. It is because if it is that you sign for your body camera and it'll take you an hour before you get to your location to start your operation, you don't want to waste battery time. Same thing on your return, you save an hour. Likewise, there may be a situation with a woman involved in domestic violence. You don't use the body camera showing the lady. You don't show the body camera of a child having been sexually abused or killed. You can't use the body camera to record someone who is a confidential informant. So the comment made by the commissioner that the body cameras are not good because they can be turned on and turned off, it showed that his lack of experience being on the ground, understanding tactics and strategy with law enforcement, minimum use of force, and use of body cameras, he was totally clueless in understanding this.
That's a very fair and solid point that you made there. So let's get to the heart of it now, right? So when officers recorded the footage on those body cameras that you would have procured, the 1,200, right? And maybe you can specify how many of those 1,200 were actually in operation when you procured, if any at all. Where exactly was that evidence going? Who was storing it? Who controlled it? And could any officer delete the footage without central oversight?
So what we did, we had an IT team headed by a superintendent, and he will direct that every police officer, you sign for the body camera when you enter the station to go on operation, and you return it, and it's signed back in. and then that data now will be pumped now into an IT department, and those officers will monitor closely what it is that was seen and recorded, and that's how they were able to know if an officer was on a 4-hour duty, be it an operation or patrol or whatever, and if it is that the 4 hours would have been utilized on the use of the body camera. If it is he turned it off for 2 hours, then you will be disciplined, which would have rubbished the poor excuse by the commissioner of police now to say that the body cameras can be turned on and turned off. The length of time of the recording must equate with that of the tour of duty by the police officer.
That then feeds in, the answer that you just gave there. Suppose that then feeds into the concern, right? So if it's not automatically being sort of deposited to a cloud-based system or whatever, I think the suggestion by the criticizers was that people have friends, and I think even in your post yesterday, you would have mentioned how certain officers, kick the can down the road, or, in your comments regarding the police complaints authority and the moves to kind of, rip that apart, right? So if be that as it may, that sort of culture exists, what prevents officers from manipulating or deleting footage in that same light?
Exactly. So what it is that they are claiming, if it is that there was an external agency or a major security company that is qualified to extract the data from these body cameras, extract it, secure it, program it, analyze it, monitor it, and it is used by an external agency, that should be welcomed by the public, not be criticized by people such as Wade Head and the Commissioner of Police. So if it is you only want police to monitor the viewing of the cameras by the police, it goes in line with the stupid comment made recently by the Minister of Homeland Security, who says he finds that police should investigate police. It can't be the guards guarding the guards. There must be an external element to make sure that there are checks and balances to prevent deliberate deletion of footage or not recording, and then you're covering for your officer because he didn't do his job.
Saying, if I'm guessing you clearly, is that part and parcel of that procurement was that an external agency was responsible for managing, storing, and processing the data? Do I have that correct?
Yes, correct. And that is expected, because so there must be some. How could you expect to have 1,000 body cameras, use 20 hours a day for the body cameras, and then 20,000 hours of storage, and then multiply it by 30, 600,000 hours to be viewed, to be monitored, to be stored, to be secured, to be analyzed, to be extracted, to be able to look and get information of evidence that can be used in court, that can be used to clear police officers or to discipline police officers, check and make sure that police officers had it turned on and turned off. That is going to take time. It's going to take manpower. It's going to take money. So for them to be foolishly stating that there was a big cost, what do you expect of 600,000 hours? And that is just for 1,000 body cameras, which is why I'm noticed another commissioner after me got body cameras for $8,000 for one. When you look at the difference of that, was a $5,000 to $6,000 difference in body cameras multiplied by 3,000 body cameras. That's over $15 million extra that the taxpayers would have to pay if it is they didn't scrap it, compared to what I acquired. And let me tell you, when it is the commissioner now foolishly says that he wants body cameras that cannot be switched on and switched off, it shows the man is not operational, he's not tactical, he has never been involved in actual law enforcement on the ground. And because I have, both as a soldier and a police officer, and I can tell you the type of cameras he's speaking about is what is used to be able to extract Maduro, to take out Bin Laden, to go and kick down in the doors of the Red House to get the Prime Minister out. Those are the type of body cameras where the commandos, the special forces, they don't have time to turn on and turn off a body camera. As soon as they get off of that aircraft, they get straight into the operation and get back in. That is going to cost about $20,000. You don't need that. Police officers do not use those type of body cameras on the ground. And then somebody now is going to increase it by another 10, and then say it's $30,000 for these body cameras, Mrs. Prime Minister. We need 7,000, so we need $200 million for these body cameras. This is going to be $200 million wasted by the taxpayers, with probably a $70 million kickback somewhere along the line, when it is not necessary, because the 1,000 body cameras plus that I got were more than sufficient for operational use of the police service. And these are the same body cameras that are used by North American police departments. Check NYPD, Boston, LA, Detroit, Las Vegas. These are the body cameras that are used, GTAC and Axon. And these are the body cameras that are turned on and turned off. They will continue to make excuses not to use body cameras. You notice I also provided thousands of tasers, thousands of pepper spray. They refuse to give it to police officers, which is where we saw a police officer, female police officer foolishly pointing a gun at an unarmed child.
All right, thank you very much. So the very last question I have for you, I think you largely touched on it already, but I have to sort of end it in terms of summarizing it all. So, Mr. Griffith, thank you for your answers so far. It's been very, clear in terms of correcting a lot of misconceptions about, whether the opioid procurement of the contract actually meant that the police were just managing every step of the process, right? It wasn't very clear that actually an external system or body was responsible for processing that. And that is definitely in line with what is expected. I think the notion that is being suggested and put out there is that that wasn't a part of it, and that you basically got a bunch of dud body cameras, and the police themselves were responsible for every level of the processing of that data. And to learn very clearly from you that actually that's not true, and actually the process was that they sign in and sign out, and the cameras rotate, and that we only need about 1,200 cameras, because of course we don't need cameras for every police officer. All of these things were very, very clear and clearly articulated. Anywho, so I wanted to ask the last question. So, of course, given the millions spent and the national importance of police evidence, what contracts, technical systems, or documents exist to prove the storage, maintenance, and security structure you left behind? And who should the public hold responsible if that system has now failed?
Yeah, well, obviously. So, as I said, for decades before me, no commissioner saw the importance of minimum use of force policy. So, what I brought in would have been systems of not just the body cameras. We keep speaking body cameras. I got thousands of tasers, thousands of pepper spray. I got dashboard cameras on the vehicle. And if you listen to a comment by Watchman Wade Head, foolishly stating that if a vehicle breaks down or is unserviceable, you still have to pay for the feed of the 75 cameras. Well, you have 1,700 vehicles, and it was 75 of these dashboard cameras. Put it on another vehicle. They don't want that. That's why they removed all of the dashboard cameras on the police vehicles, providing a live feed and operational command center. They refuse to utilize tasers. They refuse to utilize the pepper spray. They removed the online reporting, the police app. And the body camera is no different. The excuses used by the Commissioner of Police shows desperation not to move with ensuring that we can make police officers accountable, measure their performance, make sure they don't abuse their authority, whilst at the same time protecting police officers if wrongfully accused. Again, you go to the body cameras, GTAC and Axon. I ask anybody to type it in. You will see that these are used by many police services. You type, do police officers have the capability to turn on and turn off body cameras? The answer for almost 100% is yes, which shows that the commissioner is totally clueless in understanding minimum use of force policy and the body cameras. There was a mandatory standard operational procedure in a departmental order, making it mandatory for the officers to use it. They took all the body cameras back from all of the stations. And again, this played a big part towards public confidence being 60% under my watch, and now it's in single digits. If it is that you had a concern, because as commissioners change, you could have a concern and say, I don't like this procurement practice, I don't like this company that's doing it. But you're telling me that you will shut down what was being used because you don't like this company or this organization. And for 5 years, you did not have the capability to purchase one body camera. You didn't have the capability to get a new procurement process. You didn't have the capability to get a new firm or team to monitor the feed of the body cameras. This is just another simple example of police officers being dinosaurs in the police service and refusing to have systems to measure their performance and make them accountable.
I asked my last question, but just listening to your answer there makes me think, is there concerted effort to dismantle the intelligence gathering capabilities of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service? And if indeed that is the case, why on earth would that be, do you think? Because all I'm hearing from you, the stopping the use of the tasers, the stopping the dash cams on that you've mandated when you were commissioner of police in the dash cams in the police vehicles, the stopping of the body cameras. Why on earth do you think that they are resistant to this level of accountability? And that this will be my last question.
Sorry about that. It's straightforward. There are two reasons. Firstly, there are police officers such as previously in the police service, such as the present Homeland Security Minister and Guerrero. They love the old school policing. They're afraid to embrace change, embrace technology, embrace 21st century policing, predictive policing, intelligence driven policing. They enjoy the colonial type of policing where if it is that you argue with a police officer, you can be charged for abusive language. You could be charged for obscene language. You could be charged for lewd dancing, but for carnival, everybody else could be dancing the same way and it's okay. So all of these different things, two young boys on a street corner, you could charge them for loitering. So they live in trying to exploit and extract these colonial laws to take advantage of their power. And with it, they don't understand the importance now as we come to the second quarter of the 21st century, understanding worldwide police officers must be made accountable. Their performance must be measured. They don't want that. So things such as tasers and pepper spray, instead of having an officer draw a firearm if somebody is just arguing with them and you could shoot them because you have no other item to use in minimum use of force. Police officers abusing their authority because you don't want the body cameras in case that now they could be disciplined if not charged for abuse of authority or inappropriate action in how they operate with members of the public. They don't want, even I had GPS tracking on police vehicles. The GPS tracking on every vehicle meant that if a police vehicle broke a red light, we can now contact them and say, why did you break the red light? We don't have you on a distress call. Why are you going over the speed limit when it is that you're not on a distress call? We had more police officers doing escort duty for that stink and dirty fet. Every 3 minutes, people in traffic were seeing police vehicles flying past them with sirens blazing and 2 and 3 vehicles behind them. We had more police vehicles doing private jobs, escorting persons without the police being aware of it, than police officers actually doing traffic management. That is what they don't want. They remove that GPS tracking where if you're a police vehicle that you're supposed to be in Maloney or Toko, what you're doing in Chagaramas on that night. They don't want that. These are the things that affect the actions of these officers. And just let me finally add, just by the statement by the Minister of Homeland Security who says and insists that police must investigate police, it shows the old type of policing. He tried to use tutor as an example with the teachers and the law association as an example with attorneys. He has now emphasized the point of how wrong he is because tutor looks after the well-being of tutor. The law association looks after the well-being of lawyers. So if you have police officers investigate police, who is going to look after the interests? They will look after the interests of their batch, of their fellow police officers. That is why you need an external element. Just by him stating he doesn't want the PCA to have powers to investigate police and arrest them, it shows where we are. This type of attitude of police trying to cover for police and not wanting to utilize the technology out there to make them accountable is why public trust in the police service is now single digits. Yes, and also one more thing to note. There's a reason why certain police officers and even retired police officers want to make sure that police investigate police. If there's a situation of video footage or evidence to verify somebody shot somebody else, within weeks, that person will be charged for murder. In this situation, remember the matter in Mova a few years ago, under my watch when I was commissioner of police, with the Mova shooting, I immediately suspended all 18 police officers, in stark contrast to Guerrero and others who said, no, they saw nothing wrong to justify taking any action on these officers. Imagine it took several years for these officers finally to be charged. And you saw the video footage. The video footage is there. That is admissible in court. Why would it have taken 7 years to finally charge these officers? The same thing is going to happen here. If it is that these officers are guilty in any way, it'll be about several years before they're finally charged. If it is that you have the police complaint authority involved in an investigation like this, individuals with a video footage like that could very well be charged within weeks. So there's also that reason why police want to investigate police, because they have the authority to just drag on a case for several years and sometimes even hope that people forget about it. And again, PS, this is an example of minimum use of force. I provided thousands of tasers and pepper spray to be given to officers So based on the escalation of the threat, they will move from verbal persuasion, communication, backup, body cameras to verify for evidence, to ascertain who was culpable, batter, pepper spray, tasers, with the weapon being the final resort. You draw a weapon at an unarmed child and pointing the weapon as if it's a rod. It showed that she was totally untrained, and that was excessive force. In any developed country, that officer will be suspended immediately.
Well, Mr. Griffith, thank you ever so much for your time. I appreciate the time that you spent in sharing your experience over the years and shedding some light on the procurement process and clearing up some of the misconceptions that we've been hearing, particularly from this new crop of leadership in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. You've shed a lot of insightful light on what went on during your tenure, and I would say that you brought some clarity to the national conversation. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very sincerely and wish you all the best. And hope that we can chat again sometime. Take care.
Thank you very much. It was indeed my pleasure. As I said, I'm not here to please persons based on their political affiliation. I will call it based on the facts, and many people may not like it. Sometimes when I speak based on the facts, it may benefit one, it may affect the other. That is irrelevant to me. But I've been hearing a lot of comments being made as it pertains to the police service that are totally inaccurate, misleading, and it is rather unfortunate that there's not clarification being made. That is all that I am doing. I'm bringing facts to the table and letting the country make the decision. Thank you very much.